Hey, everybody. Thanks for standing by. As a reminder, this event will be recorded and it'll be archived on constructionbusinessowner.com. I'm Megan Beam. I'm the editor-in-chief of Construction Business Owner magazine and digital media. Welcome to Leveraging AI to Streamline Construction Hiring, sponsored by Skillit. And our presenter today is Fraser Patterson. I'm going to hop into a poll for us. So as you're hopping into the call, if you could go ahead and give us a quick answer what your number one challenge is with craft worker hiring. And we'll hop into that in a little bit. I'm going to talk about Fraser for just a second. During his career, he's been a skilled trade, general contractor, educator, mentor, executive, and repeat contact founder. In 2021, he founded Skillit, the world's first data-driven platform dedicated to helping general and specialty contractors intelligently source and connect with America's fastest growing database of vetted craft workers. As a venture-backed startup, Skillit is on a mission to use data to fix the skilled labor shortage globally. We got coming in here. Got about half folks. If you're still hopping on, feel free to fill out that poll for us real quickly before we move forward. Give it just a couple more seconds. And let's check out those results. Wow. I know this won't be our whole attendee list since we're right here at the beginning, but we've got a pretty heavy lead there. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Fraser to get us started. And attendees, don't forget to submit questions throughout as you have them in that Q&A box, and we'll get to as many as possible. Fraser, it's all you for a bit.
All right, thanks so much. Well, first of all, Jesse, Megan, Elizabeth, thank you for coordinating this event. Great to be here with everybody, and I think looks like we got a great turnout. So I'll do my best to deliver here. A little bit of backstory on me, just to expand on Megan's introduction. So I started in Scotland as an apprentice carpenter. I became a journeyman carpenter. I was an iron worker doing high-rise steel work for a while. Became a general contractor. I moved to Mexico. That's where I built my first construction tech company, basically a renovation platform with the goal of de-risking renovation. That was adopted by the Mexican government, and I actually brought the kernel of that idea when I moved to the U.S. here in New York over a decade ago, and I built a kind of vertically integrated design build firm, and that company was acquired after a few years, and I stayed on as the CEO to scale that company, and that's when I came kind of really face to face with the labor challenge, the labor crisis, and this is obviously the biggest problem in construction. It's also the most expensive. So you can see here, this is growing every year, this worsening chronic skills shortage that is the number one problem for 94% of employers. And it's getting more and more expensive. Just over the last 5 years, the average cost per hire has gone up from $1,500 to $2,000. That's just the soft costs as well. That's not the kind of labor and recruiters cost. That's just the hard cost. Of actually job boards and staffing agencies and so on and so forth. And so I think it's whenever you're kind of confronted with a problem like this, it's good to maybe take a step back and kind of define the problem more clearly. And what's really fascinating is when you kind of look at this problem, you say, well, there's just fewer workers in construction, and therefore, there's more workers chasing fewer jobs. It's more competitive, et cetera. But I'd like to offer you a kind of different lens into this problem. So what you're looking at right now is you can see on the left-hand side, the share of employers saying construction saying this hiring challenge is the number one problem. And you can see it across other industries like retail, software, nursing, and so on and so forth. What's really interesting is construction has the smallest labor gap of any industry, any critical industry, defined by just how many workers are missing from the pool. So we've got 440,000 workers missing out of a labor pool of 8.3 million. That's about 5%. So we're missing 1 in 20 workers. Nursing is closer to 10%. Retail and software, they're not far behind. So, but yet none of them, despite having larger labor shortages, none of them cite this as such an urgent kind of hair on fire problem. And so, why is that? And if you look at these other industries, what you realize is, maybe in nursing, for example, 30% of that job is admin, which obviously can be, it's a great use case for AI to come in and automate some of that rote work away. Retail, robotics can lend an arm quite literally because it's in a static environment. Software, let's say you're building a new tech product. If you're short a few workers, you can outsource globally. You cannot, do any of those in construction, right? Craft in the field, there is no admin to speak of. So AI doesn't really, offer much margin back. It's a highly kind of, constantly shifting dynamic environment. So the use of robotics, we're decades away from that in our opinion. And you can't outsource it at all because it's hyper local. And so we've come to believe that despite there being a labor shortage, the real problem is that construction doesn't have a modern hiring or labor infrastructure. So it's not so much that the real issue is a shortage of workers. It's really a lack of digital access to digital access and insight into the 95% of the workers that we already have, which is what makes them so hard to find, and it's what makes them so expensive to hire. And that's why we built Skillit. So over the past few years, my team and I have been building an AI native platform that efficiently onboards and digitizes craft workers and automates and reimagines a lot of the workflows that are needed to source and screen and schedule them at scale. So, rather than building out a better job board or staffing firm, we built an entirely new infrastructure for hiring and construction. One that also makes it really easy for craft workers to build and own very data-rich profiles. Their professional profile, much like LinkedIn, but I'll show you in a second, far more data-rich and obviously hyper-relevant for construction. We also built a kind of talent search engine that instantly surfaces the right workers based on what actually matters to employers in construction. And we built an AI scheduling assistant that is built so that the field and the office can actually kind of reliably connect with one another, recruiters and workers on a phone call, and do so automatically and really fast. And so just to kind of dig into what we've actually been building. So we're really the first to make craft labor searchable and scalable. So our labor acquisition engine, what we call it, so the kind of machinery we're building to pull in the craft labor pool and convert them into highly structured profiles. That's been growing about 7x year on year. We're at 175,000 worker signups. Over 60,000 of those are now fully data-rich profiles, and that's across every kind of worker. So every skilled trade and craft worker, from carpenter, electrician, plumber, heavy equipment operator, and pipe layers, pipe fitters, at every level too, from entry level to your foreman, superintendent, across 35 trades, dozens of markets, mostly concentrated in the southeast. But I'll talk to our plans shortly, going to go beyond those. And it includes open shop, local, per diem, union, traveling. So really, really solves for the complexity of hiring in construction. And this, just to give you an example, I'm not sure how clearly you can see this, but essentially, LinkedIn on the left there, as you probably are aware, it's not where the trades live. And along with job boards like Indeed, they try jamming all the nuances of a craft worker's professional resume into these generic fields that just flatten their skills and their experience and their job history, and even things like their commute preference, which make them extremely, make those workers very hard to find. And what we've done, on the other hand, is we capture 100% of the data that construction employers are looking for. And so this all starts with the recruiter, right, at the center of this, the craft recruiter. And so we're really proud to be the first to have built a kind of world-class, like enterprise-grade construction recruiting experience for construction companies. And just to walk you through the flow, and I'm going to jump into the live product in a little while, but just to give you a kind of high-level overview of the flow, you're simply prompting our platform with a request, similar to how you ask ChatGPT something. Takes seconds. You're not drafting like long work, like role descriptions. From that prompt, curated results instantly appear from our database. There's no sourcing involved. There's no screening. It's a delightful experience. It's cutting about a third of the day of a recruiter, all that rote work out. Our AI automatically connects the recruiter and the worker by phone, saving lots of grunt work and back forth, and actually delivering about 12 times as many interviews. I'll speak to that a little more later. And also, all of the insights and updates flow into their Skillit kind of ATS system. It's really a command center for everything is in one place for the recruiter. And so this has really created. It's kind of led to Skillit becoming the AI labor solution for dozens of America's best and biggest builders. This chart here, what I'm showing you is, after reaching critical mass in certain workers in certain markets and getting the profile data and the search engine to kind of hum, and of course releasing our AI scheduling assistant to solve the recruiter field connection problem, we've started to see engagement on the platform really explode, with now thousands of interviews being conducted in a month, hundreds of hiring events happening. To date, we have 66 of the top 100 largest civil, commercial, and industrial builders engaged on Skillit. And as these companies increasingly self-perform and strive to become kind of world-class employers of craft labor, they're starting to rely more on our platform to really efficiently source and hire craft workers at scale. And they're also benefiting from an entirely new kind of set of capabilities, which were previously, didn't exist, including labor analytics and market intelligence and automated workflows because of the data that we're capturing. We also have a really kind of fast-growing mid-market and specialty trade segment. These are typically companies, some are small enough not to have dedicated recruiters, but they're large enough to have regular hiring needs. And unlike our top E&R customers, they many have like small teams, and very often someone's wearing like multiple hats. And so our platform and our AI in particular helps really dramatically reduce the kind of time and effort that it's taking them to source and screen and interview craft workers. And it's also radically more affordable for them. And I'll speak to that in just a second. As you can see here, so this is the kind of impact that we're having with customers, from like response rates that are a dozen plus times better than all the other kind of generic platforms out there. Interview attendance rates, we've had customers with 100% attendance rates over the course of a month. Just really kind of never seen before kind of outcomes. And also the kind of efficiency per hire. Brassfield and Gorey, for example, made 35 hires in just 2 hours on the platform. So, minutes of time to make hires. In terms of our pricing as well, we've really transformed how the kind of economics work of hiring in construction here. So we've made it such that it's a simple flat fee per recruiter on the platform, but unlimited usage, unlimited hires. So our customers can choose project-based terms or annual contracts for some of the larger organizations. So the costs become really predictable, radically more affordable, often 10 to 20 times less than the existing solutions, and way more efficient and less confusing than an Indeed kind of click or ad-based pricing model, which kind of rises with volume and it's very hard to predict. And of course, our customers love predictability. I think all construction companies do. And so when you take into account that you're spending maybe 4 minutes per hire on the platform instead of 40 on, say, Indeed, and the lower cost compared to the spend that you're usually spending, and the better outcomes. So response rates, attendance rates, hiring rates, what you're seeing is the benefits of Skillit really do compound into something that's 1,000 times better than 1,000 times better a craft recruiting experience for your team. And that was it for just the kind of overview. I mean, I hope that was helpful, and I'd like to dive into the actual product with you and give you a tour of what it's like to actually search for workers. Let me just share my screen. Megan, am I good to keep going here?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me see. Okay. So what we're currently looking at is the dashboard or homepage of a recruiter using the platform. And let me just show you how kind of easy this is to use. So, normally be posting a job description and posting that to job sites, and then you have to wait for candidates to come in, and many of the candidates are not the right fit, especially with construction. If you look for a project manager, sometimes anyone who's done any project management in any industry is an applicant, and you're having to sift through all these role descriptions. With Skillit, all you need to do is prompt it. So I've just typed in here, I'm looking for welders in Dallas with 4G TIG experience. And we pay between, say, $20, $30 an hour, but we want them to have really good assessment scores. And our AI goes into the platform and pulls these workers out and curates them according to that criteria. So they're instantly in front of you. And let me just show you some of the kind of core capabilities of the platform. So like I mentioned, we're kind of like an anti-job board. So we've already done the sourcing. We've captured the worker, fully digitized them in a way that's never been done before. And that way we can give you this really delightful experience of just prompting and getting, the workers that you're looking for. Just to show you what our AI did, it actually went into our taxonomy, put, Dallas, Texas, obviously. You can see here all the different trades that we have, about 35 in total, growing all the time. You can add keywords. Keywords, what they do is just kind of push a worker's profile to the top if in fact it has those keywords. We can put assessment scores as well here. So let's put, say, over 75. You can see the desired pay is already picked. 4G welding is already picked. You can see a really, really robust taxonomy. We built this from the ground up to essentially account for every skill in construction, every skill group, and then every trade. And so let's take a look at, let's say, Jordan. So you can see here, very robust work experience, a little bit more about Jordan. All of our workers contribute a bit about themselves, so they're easier to understand. You get a kind of the nuance of who the person is. You can see their past experience. We can show you how long it takes them to get to the actual project site. So the commute time for each worker. We can show you the offer guidance. So this takes the amount that the worker is currently being paid, how much they'd like to be paid, and how much they would accept for the perfect job. And it triangulates it to tell you, here's the likelihood they actually accept your offer. So there's like less games going back and forward with between each other. You can see the assessment they've taken. We do proprietary assessments. We've built these with our customers over the last couple of years. Gives a really great signal as to the quality of a worker. And you can see here their areas of experience, anything that we ask them to have but they don't have, and their certifications, of course. And so that's kind of what a worker's profile looks like. If we want to just go into the how we the different labor types, if you will, you can see here we can expand into per diem. So rather than showing you everybody at once, you can build your search up to suit how you like to hire. So you can see Derek's profile here, see where he's commuting from, and I can actually let me show you another. If we put if we lock any of these, they become a Boolean and. So you can quite literally, perfect and hone your search to meet your exact criteria. And then this is a pretty cool feature. So you can quite literally see the labor supply anywhere in the US, much like you do, a restaurant on Google, for example. And you can see where those workers are, and sometimes it's good to see, is there a geological or topological, is there a mountain range in between you and that worker, or maybe they can fit more than one role depending on where your projects are, so they're a bit of a utility player. Again, just gives you a different view into the labor pool. And we can also show you, so what does the supply look like? So it's not just, because of the data that we're capturing, Skillit is not just a hiring tool, it's also increasingly an analytics and intelligence tool. So we can show you for every search that you do, how fast is that supply growing? What are the pay trends? What's the worker eligibility trends, past employers, etc. And let's just go back and let me show you a really kind of powerful feature in the platform. So amazingly, up to 75% of workers that are interested and qualified for a job don't hear back from recruiters. Often this is because it's a very call-heavy workflow, and unfortunately, most of the tools that have been designed in the past are predicated on being sat in front of a desk and using a keyboard. And so a lot of recruiters are just overwhelmed. But with Skillit, if you just tap the connect button and schedule a call, I'm not going to schedule a call with Justin right now, because that would be kind of putting him on the spot a little. But I can show you what this experience is like. So when you tap schedule a call on a worker's profile, our AI scheduler, it's called Sam. Sam takes it to text and reaches out to the worker, sharing that there's an opportunity. And because it knows, we think this is the first kind of respectful way of communicating with workers ever built, because they might be on site or driving or have their hands full, or so they're free to respond when it's convenient for them. And of course, Skillit knows your calendar. We're able to sync to your Outlook as your source of truth. So Sam basically just works via text to get that interview scheduled, pops it into everyone's calendar, can handle the rescheduling if for any reason there's a change that needs to happen. It sends reminders out in advance, which helps improve the attendance rates. And then at the right time, it bridges the call while masking the number of both sides. Sometimes, you might not want your number out there, and workers don't want them out there either. You just tap any button and then you're put through to the worker. And you can, you can see here, this is like a command center on the right-hand side for all your upcoming calls. So we've really completely transformed, reimagined the idea of an ATS for construction. You can see all your scheduled calls, and you can, dive into any conversation you're having with a worker. That is the kind of nuts and bolts of the product. I would say, Megan, if there's anything else you'd like me to show, or move on to maybe a Q&A, or.
Yeah, let's absolutely. What we'll do is let everyone know, hop in that Q&A box. If you have something that's specific to the product that you want to ask, Fraser can always come back and re-share screen. We can hop back into this, and he can kind of walk us through anything specific that you might be wanting to see. So be sure and throw those into the Q&A box as we get started. We do have some questions in here that you and I can go ahead and get started on as we keep this open for everyone. Okay. Let's start with what kind of ROI are your customers currently seeing when they are switching to Skillit?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. I think the typical ROI we see when customers switch to Skillit, it's pretty dramatic. I mean, you start with the consolidation of fragmented spend. So a lot of our customers initially are on Indeed, LinkedIn Recruiter, ZipRecruiter, or they're maybe using a staffing agency. It depends on where their projects are, how large that organization is. And now they're consolidating all of that spend into a single purpose-built platform. So that shift alone cuts a lot of wasted budget. I think the real impact comes in the efficiency and the outcome. So our customers on average are spending 90% less time actually sourcing. So 40 minutes per hire on Indeed on average versus 4 minutes on Skillit. And on average, we're about 10x more affordable from a cost per hire standpoint. So 2000s, the average, we're about 200. And we just see much better kind of response rates and interview attendance and actual hires. And so those stack, right? Those benefits stack. And as a result, we see, our customers using us really as a recruiting engine at scale. So that ROI is pretty quick, pretty severe, and also scalable.
Yeah. So what about some real world examples of SMB companies and the results that they're seeing?
Yeah, I'd say a good one to highlight is Shelby Erectors is a good. They're a steel reinforcement contractor in Florida. They've been spending heavily on job boards and referrals a lot of the time, which come with a little bit of a mixed bag. It's a bit double-edged. You can hire someone really great and they bring their team, and then if it doesn't work out, they also leave with their team. And they've been trying to become more systematic in how they hire. So they were doing all of that, very little return. And then with Skillit, they cut their time to hire by more than half. Their response, average response time to hire, 2.5 days. They were getting 64% connection rates. And they actually filled half of all the roles that they had outstanding within 1 month. So that meant that, their crews were on the jobs faster, projects were on schedule, and a lot of expensive kind of downtime and overtime was avoided. And so, these are, pretty tens of thousands, or maybe thousands per week in delays that they were experiencing because of not being able to fill these very time-sensitive projects. So for them, it's not just a hiring tool. I mean, it's paid for itself many, many times over now in vacancy costs and avoiding project overruns. And they're actually now just starting more projects as they expand into multiple markets. They're now expanding with us now into North Carolina. So, a testament to kind of how quickly and reliably you can scale up with Skillit because of the infrastructure we've built.
Sure. Makes a lot of sense. I see a few of these questions in here kind of overlapping in subject matter. How do workers specifically benefit from Skillit, and why do they prefer that over a traditional job search tool?
Well, as a former worker, I spent a lot of time thinking about this and have a real kind of empathy for the worker. And so we really started out with this idea of one profile to rule them all. So, it's no fun being a worker and being on all these platforms, most of which as well, they're asking you to go out and find the best jobs. Now, most craft workers don't know who the best employers are. It's not like other industries where, if you go and work for Google or Netflix, or that's not really the same in construction. And so what we decided was build this onboarding experience for them that is mostly conversational, right? So we believe in the hands being a premium to the worker. Maybe they're driving, maybe they're literally on site. I don't know, maybe it's cold. I from being an iron worker and carpenter, I have really fat fingers compared to my peers in the knowledge world. And so being on a little phone kind of tapping away isn't always the best way to capture lots of information. So we've made it very conversational for the worker to tell us about themselves, to build these profiles. So it's super easy. You get a lot of rich data. That's why you're seeing all this data that we've been able to capture. And then all the best opportunities come to them, right? The supply demand imbalance is now in favor of the worker. And so more and more companies are becoming kind of headhunters in their motion to scale their craft. And so single profile to rule them all, very easy to make, and best opportunities come to them. And I think one other thing I would say is our platform and the matching algorithms are way better than any other platform because of the data we have, and it's construction specific. So when you do actually reach out to a worker on SAM, it's fluent in 13 languages. It works 24/7. It responds to every single message of a worker. So no worker response ever gets missed. that means that you're eliminating a lot of the friction, which stalls a lot of the connections in construction. So as a result, a lot more positive responses from candidates, way higher interview rates, and over 1 in 3 interviews resulting in a hire, which is 8 times higher than on Indeed. So it's just much better experience for everyone and also the workers.
You know, along those lines, since this seems to be an active, our participants are actively involved in what's happening with the worker right now and kind of the process for them on that end. I'm going to hop out of our regular questions and into some of theirs that are overlapping. They're asking how they can create a profile. How would a candidate create a profile? How do they find you and create it? And could you walk us through kind of in that screen share how they would create their profile, what that would look like?
Yeah. The screen share, interesting. So I can talk you through it. I can show you where they show. Let me try and get to the right part of my. Let me see.
I think that would work.
Yeah, I can show you a real profile. Let's look at Justin, and let me show you what it actually looks like for the worker to create this. So, we are. So there's 2 parts to the question there. Where are we finding our workers? Where do they come from? I believe. So how are they learning about Skillit, and how are they coming? And then what are they actually doing when they come in? So we started off going to all the job boards and quite literally pulling the best workers and talking to them so that we could learn what it was like for them to actually apply and give the data that we knew we needed to be able to capture so that our employers could have this great discovery and screening and hiring experience. And so over time, that became less manual, more digital, and is now very much kind of AI first. So you're quite literally coming on and you have the choice of just talking to our AI and saying, you know, it's me, Justin Harris, I'm a welder. Instead of having to fill out a huge, like, prescriptive series of questions, it takes a 21 question approach. It's intelligently and dynamically asking you questions so that it can capture as much information from you as possible. And then, if you see here, if I, and by the way, we're now across all digital platforms, all job boards, hundreds of them programmatically. We've built, software and AI first tools to actually pull in the worker and make them aware of Skillit. As of about 6 months ago, 25% of workers are learning now about Skillit organically. Just somebody is telling them, because there's so many people now starting to be hired on the platform. So we're seeing that grow about 4% every month. So pretty soon, most workers are going to be coming to us simply because they know the brand and someone's told them about us. But you can see here, as a worker, I'm able to select whatever I do really easily. I can put my exact address. I can decide, you know what, I don't want to travel that far. You know what, I want to be with the family for the next couple of months. I'm just going to do 25. I want to spend more time at home. Do you want to do per diem work? If so, like, for how long? What locations would you like to relocate to or do per diem work in? Setting your pay, et cetera. And we have this for each module for them to give us the data they want. And the reality is no one's ever taken the time to really build out the actual information that employers need and what craft workers themselves want to be able to put out there so they can get the best opportunity. So we see very good completion rates, and of course we're able to capture this this huge amount of data as a result.
Yeah.
And this is just a worker we were admiring before we came on the call. We get extremely high quality workers across all trades, all levels of experience, and so that is testament to how easy it is. We've made it for them to do so.
Sure. Yeah, if anyone has any more questions about the worker profile specifically, feel free to hop in. We've got a few more to run through, but we're happy to come back and talk some more through that. What's next for Skillit? Where is the platform headed in the next year?
Yeah, that's a great question. Very exciting. So the next 2 years are all about scaling nationally. So we've been very focused on a handful of markets in the Southeast, being as strategic as we can to make sure that we get good density there. And we're also expanding the product. So we're rolling out over the next 12 to 24 months into 100 markets across the US. We're going to have true national coverage across all trades, and not just craft recruiting, but also professional roles. So estimators, surveyors, we already have a few thousand of them on the platform. We're starting to grow that up, scale that up. And we're also using our platform and our AI to completely reimagine and improve all of our customers' labor-related workflows. So from sourcing, reimagining the ATS so it's construction-specific, compensation and workforce intelligence tools, to being able to hire in the field, and actually, retention tools, and also help our workers upskill their careers. So, that combination of like national liquidity and this like broader workflow and capability, we're really, the vision here is really to position Skillit as the go-to hiring platform and ultimately the brain for construction labor, especially as America goes through the biggest reindustrialization in our history of AI data centers, infrastructure, et cetera. So that's really the plan for the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, wow, that's exciting. It's a lot to look forward to. Along those lines, regarding worker quality, I know it's kind of going back to what we were discussing before, but what are the steps? This is from the audience specifically. Okay. What are the steps that Skillit takes to confirm worker quality?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So every worker profile on Skillit is built from structured data. So we're getting the trades, certifications, work history, and pay expectations. There's a minimum amount of data that we require before you can go live. That's why there's 170,000 signups, but 65-ish thousand profiles today, because we won't let the rest go live until they have a minimum amount of information. So our employers see a lot more than just a resume to start with. So it starts with the quality of the data. We then validate this information through credentials. There's manager feedback, direct worker assessments, which I kind of showed you a little bit. Our team conducts regular spot checks with workers to confirm skills and availability. So we do actual calls with workers. And we also have now dozens of top E&R customers, and they bring really rigorous hiring standards to their engagement on the platform. So we're seeing hundreds of hires now happening all the time on the platform every month. And so that feedback is starting to come through both Skillit, the platform itself. Also, we're in weekly calls with our customers and hiring teams. So we're incredibly engaged in their business, because that's how we've been able to really, capture their feedback and build this tool, especially for construction companies. Sure. And then just finally, our matching engine. It literally prioritizes workers who are responsive and engaged, and for whose data is robust and high quality. And so you are ensured to be connected to basically reliable, job-ready talent.
Mm. There may be some crossover here then in some of this data collection. And another question from the audience: how does Skillit know the pay rates, benefits sought, immigration, labor standards, et cetera, in any particular market?
Right. Yeah, cool question. And I can actually show, while I'm talking, I'll show you a little bit of this if helpful. So let me jump into our website. And if you go up here to resources, go into labor insights. So one of the things that we've done is we know the pay and the benefits and a lot of the labor dynamics in market, because our data is not coming from government agencies or employers. It's coming directly bottom up from the worker. And so that's getting continuously validated by employers as well. But the data itself is coming from the worker. So every profile includes their wage expectations, their benefit preferences, certifications, work eligibility. That's all captured at onboarding, and it's improved over time. So we enrich that, as I mentioned, with feedback from the teams and actual placements. And so we're now in we're actually in many more markets than we are focused on markets, right? We've got this organic kind of growth occurring across the US. So we're able to produce really the first kind of intelligence reports that speak to factors like per diem and relocation and immigration and stuff like this. So I can just show you very, very quickly, just kind of touch on one, just to give you a sense of the depth and breadth of the data. But like current craft pay in Charlotte across all the trades, their desired pay, flexibility, non-financial compensation trends, who are the biggest employers, Lithgow. How many of those have workers on Skillit, for example? Skill and experience, years of trade, overlap between the trades. I mean, we can really nerd out here, but basically, we're capturing a virgin data source directly from the worker that's enabling us to essentially power a new kind of labor intelligence, not just on the individual worker, but more broadly. This can go on and on, but that's just up here under resources on our website. If anyone's interested in digging in more there, and we're across I think there's maybe a dozen reports there that, and we're just, those are manual for now, but we're eventually going to be building those out into the platform over the next few months.
Sure. We do have someone asking about expansion into a Chicago area, if you're currently there, or when you might see yourselves expanding out that way.
Yep, we are expanding into Chicago shortly, over the next quarter. We are going from the 10 markets that we are currently in into over 100 markets, and the Chicago and the MSA of Chicago is a priority market for us. We have dozens of customers and a backlog of customers asking for us to be in those markets. So the answer is yes, that's imminent.
Well, I know they'll be excited to hear that. Another asking about talent in the South specifically. Are there a lot of licensed electrical journey worker candidates currently using Skillit?
Yes. We're very strong in the Southeast. Electrical, we have multiple large, like specialty trade contractors in electrical. So, Cummings Electrical is an example, or Rosendin is somebody who's in our pipeline and is starting to adopt the product. So these are, very large electrical contractors. So yes, we do.
Cool. Final question so far. There's still a little bit of time to submit if anybody wants or has anything that they want to be sure and get answered live in the event. And I don't know how far into this you would want to get right now, Fraser, but they're asking about the pricing for the software. I'm sure this can depend a great deal on users or access.
Yeah. So what I can say is, on average right now, the platform is comparable in price to, it can be as little as $500 per recruiter per month. And then, of course, that gives you the core platform, unlimited hires, pretty much access to everything I just showed you. And as we scale with our larger customers, we have modules. So, for example, the ability to hire in the field, the ability to have workforce intelligence, all of the analytics, and all of these other capabilities into more kind of enterprise-sized accounts, especially as we scale the footprint of the platform nationally. So we have customers paying $6,000 a year, and we have customers paying six-figure and up.
Based on size of enterprise, this makes sense.
Yeah, based on their size, the size of their teams, the capabilities that they need, the extent to which leadership is involved in making hiring decisions and strategy across their orgs and stuff like that. So,
Sure. Okay. There's still a little bit of time to submit any questions if anybody's got anything else. But that's pretty much what we've got for the show today. I'm going to start taking us out. Of course, if you have questions that we're not able to get to live and we don't see them until afterwards, we're happy to get those over to the Skillit team. And they can answer it for you offline. Thanks to Fraser and the Skillit team for today's presentation. Also, feel free to visit skillit.com if you would like to schedule a demo with somebody on the team. And look for an email that will be coming from CBO directly for access to the playback and presentation from this event. And as always, you can check out our resource library at constructionbusinessowner.com for more on topics like this and all of our educational webinars. Thanks again to Skillit. Thanks everybody else for taking your time today. And I hope everyone has a great afternoon.
Thanks very much.